This video was made in collaboration with NARUTOPEDIA. For more information, check out the link in the description. Hanzō, feared as Hanzō of the Salamander, was a legendary shinobi and the leader of Amegakure during his lifetime. Welcome to the Amagi. In today's video, we're going over the life of Hanzō. Before we begin, we publish a new video every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. The Amagi's reach stretches beyond just this channel, so if you're a fan of us, please consider subscribing to our other channels and following us on all our social media. Help us reach our goal of passing 100,000 followers on all of our accounts by the end of the year. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Early life. At some point during Hanzō's childhood, he found a black salamander with deadly venom residing in his village. When it died, its venom sac was embedded into his body, in the hopes of creating a venomous ninja who himself was immune to toxins. This required him to wear a mask constantly in order to protect others from his venom-laced breath. At some point after this, Hanzō became well known and renowned throughout the shinobi world, so much that enemies have been known to flee at the very sight of him. At one point, Hanzō confronted dozens of samurai from the Land of Iron, who retreated after realizing who they were up against except for one. Hanzō fought Mifune, whom he defeated and in the process poisoned in their final clash by slashing his hand. Hanzō spared his life due to the samurai's strength and faith. He went as far as giving him the antidote to his poison to give him a fighting chance, but then left without treating his injury. Despite claiming to think that he had killed him, in the back of his mind, Hanzō knew Mifune was still alive. During the Second Shinobi World War, Hanzō fought some of Konoha's forces, with Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru being the only survivors. As a reward to them for this accomplishment, he named them Konoha's Sannin, and told them to refer to themselves as such in exchange for letting them live. He also engaged in battle with Chiyo numerous times, allowing her to create an antidote to his salamander's poison. At some point after this, Hanzō lost his conviction and decided to stop pursuing peace, stopped honing his skills, and became dull, and only interested in preserving his power. Years later, during the Third Shinobi World War, Hanzō became aware of a group of ninja who began a quest to end war through unorthodox means within his country. Though Hanzō initially admired their strong pursuit of peace, Danzo manipulated him into thinking that the group was a threat to his power. Hanzō then teamed up with Danzo to kill the group's leader, Yahiko, and captured Konan. He lured Yahiko to a meeting where he forced Nagato, Yahiko's teammates, to kill Yahiko in exchange for Konan's life. However, Yahiko committed suicide by impaling himself upon Nagato's kunai to spare his friend the anguish and burden of killing him himself. Following Yahiko's death, Hanzō managed to cripple Nagato, but in a fit of rage he slaughtered all of Hanzo's forces and the root shinobi aiding him. After a brief skirmish with Nagato, Hanzō fled the scene. Following the confrontation, Nagato began a civil war within Amegakure against Hanzo's regime. During the civil war, Hanzō sent 7 genin teams to participate in the Chunin exams that were being held in Konohagakure. Sometime later, the 6 Paths of Pain confronted and easily overpowered him and all of his guards. As Hanzō expressed shock at being so outclassed, and by one of the paths looking like the presumed dead Yahiko, Pain discarded him as trash for his selfish actions and how he had become merely a shadow of the man he once admired, before killing him. Pain then systematically slaughtered every person he was ever in league or affiliated with, from family and servants to even ambassadors of the villages who he was associated with. In the anime, as a further testament of Nagato's hatred for Hanzō, Nagato did not even bother to give Hanzō a proper burial. Fourth Shinobi World War, Confrontation. In preparation for the Fourth Shinobi World War, Hanzō was reincarnated by Kabuto Yakashi to fight against the allied shinobi forces on behalf of Akatsuki. After being mobilized, he became part of the group that Chukichi from the Surprise Attack and Diversion Platoon requested assistance from, along with Chiyo and Kimimaro. Encountering the remnants of the Alliance Surprise Attack Division with his improvised team, Hanzō chastised Deidara for being caught and remarked that he would have no intention of freeing him, if it weren't for the accursed technique which governed his actions. As the opposition retreated, Hanzō concentrated on their pursuit, and once they were within his range, he summoned his salamander and then commanded it to release a poisonous mist. Moving in for the fatal blow, once the members of the Surprise Attack Division had been paralyzed, Hanzō was however intercepted by Mifune, who expressed a desire to fight him. Questioning his opponent's devotion as the two engaged in a brief but fierce duel, Hanzō maintained his distance with his Kusarigama. Ordering Ibuse to take refuge underground when Chiyo divulged the mechanisms behind the Salamander's technique, Hanzō commended Mifune on avoiding his attacks, before recounting how he had cast aside his ideals of peace a long time ago. Mifune refutes Hanzo's beliefs as he stopped him from performing hand seals through Lido, preventing Hanzo's use of ninjutsu. After recollecting his past, Hanzō attempted to counterattack by commanding Ibuse to swallow the samurai whole, resulting in Mifune almost suffocating in its toxic mouth. Slashing through the Salamander's head, the two men approached one another, ready to deliver the decisive blow. In a complete reversal of their first encounter when they were both young, Mifune cuts the blade of Hanzo's Kusarigama in half and slashes through his opponent's body, breaking his respirator in the process. Mifune then told Hanzō that the loss of his conviction had dulled his skills. After Hanzō reminisced about his past battle with Mifune, he divulged the details surrounding his infamous reputation, and eventually spared the defeated samurai due to his strong devotion towards his allies. He then explained that the weakness he described then still remained despite his immortality. In a tremendous demonstration of will, Hanzō places his faith in Mifune, and overcoming the talisman that governs his actions, he committed seppuku, or stomach cutting, with his broken Kusarigama. Piercing the internal venom gland located within his body in the process, an enormous poison cloud was released that paralyzed the entirety of Hanzo's movements, creating an opening for the 5th Division to exploit in order to bind and seal him away for the remainder of the war. In the anime, having regained his conviction and deserving of a resting peace, Mifune vowed to carve a grave for Hanzō when the 4th Shinobi World War was over. 4th Shinobi World War, Climax. With the later release of the Impure World Reincarnation, Hanzo's soul was returned to the afterlife. Personality. Hanzō was a very security-conscious individual, trusting no one. He was guarded 24 hours a day and did not allow anyone in his presence, even children, without being thoroughly searched. He cared greatly about his position as village leader and dealt with threats harshly. This obsession with security deluded Hanzō into thinking that he was preserving the great skills he had amassed, when instead it caused his skills to deteriorate due to lack of practice. Although he viewed the 5 great countries as his enemies, he was still willing to ally with foreign nations, even those who had caused him great harm, in order to remain in power. He was also willing to betray people without remorse, as seen by his leading of the Ame orphans and their team into a trap, and then attempting to have them all mercilessly killed. This betrayal, ironically, led to his own demise. Before his fall from grace, he was actually glad Akatsuki appeared and tried to resolve issues without violence, hoping it would help realize his dreams of uniting the 5 great nations without violence. Upon learning the 3 founders were apprentices of Jiraiya, who Hanzō had fought but spared, along with the 2 other Sannin, he even went on to say Akatsuki, with their compassion to help people, were the payment of a favor he was owed for sparing Jiraiya that day. A long time ago during his youth, Hanzō had once sought the ideals of peace, and even attempted to achieve this belief through the unification of the 5 great countries. His conviction was so great, the Ame orphans, despite not being subordinates of his, wore his forehead protectors as proof of their dedication to his cause. However, after realizing that such a method would only bring about perpetual war and thus leave only death in its wake, he cast aside this conviction. Afterwards, Hanzō became devoted solely to the preservation of the power he had previously amassed, growing arrogant of his own skills in the process, and leaving him unaware that they had instead dulled considerably, due in part to the lack of refinement brought through practice. Even by the time of his death, Hanzō still couldn't comprehend how someone he had once defeated could have grown more powerful than himself. A distinctive trait of Hanzō, however, was his belief in the faith of people. He believed that a strong faith would have survived the death of its owner, living on. Faith, according to him, wasn't visible to the eyes, but could be only perceived through a fight. He had great respect for the ones with a strong faith, as seen when he spared the lives of the many strong-willed opponents he defeated, demanding their names in order to call them heroes in spite of their defeat. If he also sees his defeated foes have potential, he will let them live, and even give them titles in recognition of their strength and conviction, and demand that they are to refer to themselves to the title he gives them in exchange for their lives. In the anime, he seems to enjoy a decent battle, allowing opponents he sees potential in to live and become stronger so they can challenge him again one day. He claimed his faith laid in his will to bring peace to the world, which, despite his harsh words and his attitude in later stages of his life, seemed to have lived on, as seen when before releasing a poisonous cloud from his venom sac and losing his free will to Kabuto Yakushi's impure world reincarnation, he entrusted his faith to Mifune. Did you enjoy our video? Be sure to check out these other great videos from the Amagi, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.